Okay, but you know, here we're gonna go. We talk about things before we do it because we don't have any script, as you can see on our computer. But this is Oldecam.
And this is not a spring chick. Today we're going to talk about something that's a real hot, melting topic in the news, which is
Nuclear power.
Yeah. And why would that be such a hot topic?
Because of okay, we're talking about reactor problems in Japan that basically are a pencil pusher's problem. Everybody knows that the reactors are melting down in Japan from the problem, but they don't understand why the reactors are melting down. Because, well, you got the ocean out there. You just keep filling the ocean water in, and the ocean water will basically keep them cool. I'm going to go to a bad movie starring Sharon Lawrence and the guy, the blonde-haired guy on Saved by the Bell. There was also an NYPD, actually NYPD, it's the blue thing, you know. They did a thing where basically the coolant came out of the reactors and the fire department came in to basically cool the rods down to keep them from melting. Mm-hmm. And basically the heat was so bad that the steam, it just got unbearable. And they basically had to get a portable generator working to put the coolant in. In Japan, they do, as you said, the ocean is there. Well, why don't they use the ocean? Because it's a pencil pusher's error. It's not an engineer's error, it's a pencil pusher's error. Because,
why would you say that?
Because the pencil pushers wanted to save the reactors. Ocean water destroys the system.
Because there's salt in it, right?
And it destroys the system, which means they can't, it's not like you can go in and fix the stuff, folks. Once the reactor is there, the reactor is there. And you just don't go in and, well, let's dismantle this thing and fix all the pipes that are ruined from the corrosion. That doesn't happen. What happens is when that gets to the point, they shut the factory down and still in cement. They actually thought that they could save the reactors. So somebody made a decision, well, just don't use the stuff because they're cooling anyway. They were cooling because they were flooding the things with ocean water. They did, and then they were letting the stuff vent out, the steam vented out, but the steam was venting out that wasn't as radioactive as what happens is when there's no steam. Because the reactor rods melt because they're so hot, then that stuff goes out, and that stuff is spreading all over Japan. Mm-hmm. The venting air, the gases were no problem. Mm-hmm. It's what happened after the morons decided not to fill the tanks with the salt water.
Uh-huh.
But, it's caused a disaster. You're looking, right now, every country in the world is stopping nuclear reactors from being, there's no construction permits that are going to ever be done again. Because while the engineers are very good, you can't trust the people that are basically the bookkeepers. They would destroy a country for 10 cents.
Well, part of it is sometimes they get to where, like, they just don't know better. It's kind of like, okay, the thing is melting, and how can we save it? Yeah,
they know, okay, there is no danger of a nuclear explosion. None. Because they've had four containment vessels blow up, and there's no explosion. None. They're not that type of reactor. Now, the ones they're doing in Iran, those are the go-boom reactors.
Well, I think there's a lot of misinformation when it comes to nuclear power.
Well, they said the problem is that I did hear it. They said, and last night they said, well, it's sexy to point out that nuclear power is bad, especially if one party in your country is anti-nuclear power.
Well, okay, let's just say, for example, nuclear power. How much? I mean, okay, going back to Japan. We're going to change it. Okay, they have nuclear power, but see, what happened is, well, first of all, there's never been a quake that large, and then a tsunami. So their power's out, their water's out. It's
basically everything is out.
Everything is out.
It's because what happens is it's called the perfect storm. Mm-hmm. It can't happen. I mean,
that's why they're calling it the divine wind. The
divine wind, which basically what happened was the Japanese were saved from an invasion by the Great Khan by the divine wind. It sank the Chinese invasion fleet. Mm-hmm. They're saying the divine wind has now came back to punish the Japanese people for them forgetting their core values, which is basically, it's basically to hell with everybody else in the world. We're better than they are. Mm-hmm. And they said because they forgot it. Okay, a lot of the tsunami was earthquake caused, but the winds move it. The winds help. And then the
Which is why they're calling it the divine wind.
And the winds are basically settling all the radioactive dust on Japan and nowhere else.
Oh, really?
On Japan, because it's the way the winds are doing. Because they said the winds are punishing the people of Japan.
Which is why they're saying that, because it's only hitting Japan.
It's only hitting Japan. There's nowhere else, because we pulled the fleet out 100 and some miles away, and there's nothing hitting them anymore. Because that's the far as the wind is basically like hit a wall. It's just all there, and it's basically going to destroy the fishing industry. I mean, the Japanese will not be able to fish off their shores, which means they're going to go out further into the oceans to get fish now. I mean, it's not, okay, they know what radioactive fallout is like. The only country in the world to ever have bombs dumped on them. And they're all, which is considering to be funny, they're the only country in the world to ever have 2 nuclear bombs dumped on them, and they're the most heavily dependent country in the world for nuclear energy.
Oh, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, because they've been hit by it. They know that it isn't as bad as they try to make it out to be. I mean, they're living on the grounds that they said it would be 1,000 years before you can go back to.
That's true. Now, part of it is this whole challenge with nuclear power. Well, it makes you think about what we're doing here. Because, for example, here in the United States, when I looked at it, they said there were 104 nuclear power plants.
Nuclear power plants.
Okay, that's my recollection. It could be a little bit different. And that they were as young as 33 years old.
Yeah, there hasn't been a permit issued for a nuclear facility in almost 40 years.
Yeah.
And what happens is that the anti-nuclear power people, as soon as you get a permit to build a plant, they'll go to court and spend like a decade fighting it in court, and the permit no longer is valid, so you have to go get another permit, and they'll go to court and fight on the same grounds again, because there's far more money on the side of the people that don't want nuclear power than there is on the side of those that do.
But see, here's part of the challenge is they've been talking about shutting down all the nuclear power here in the United States.
Yeah.
Because of what happened to Japan. But what does that do? I mean, how much of our economy is...
I think 20% of our power comes from nuclear plants. And a lot
20%, that's a lot.
Most of the power in the state of Illinois, Barack Obama's state, comes from nuclear plants. A lot of power to the state of California comes from nuclear plants, because we can no longer depend upon power provided by the Colorado River, because the Colorado River is being drained by people upriver for their water supplies.
So let's see, if you shut down all the nuclear power plants in the United States, what would that happen? Expect the power bills to go up?
Expect more fossil fuels to be used, because our country is designed. We have power plants that will run off of that. They'll just pick up the slack, because we are building more fossil fuel plants. There are more of those being built. So you're going to see more coal being used, you're going to see more fuel oil being used, you're going to see more natural gas being used. Everything the Democrats hate is going to happen if you shut down the 104 power plants.
Yeah, because you got to get the power from somewhere. And see, part of it is like these different facilities, they are not geared up to ramp up overnight to take over. I mean, 20%, that's a lot of our nation's energy.
Well, we've seen power plants that are not even in operation. I mean, basically we've seen the spill gates closed. The plants are not producing one bit of power, which means they got to basically go clear out the spill gates. They got to get the equipment back up to power. I mean, it could take months before the equipment is ready. And our power grid, they're going to have to go back all the lines, because there's not. Basically, what happens is that instead of going east to west to east, we're going to have to go east to west with power and north to south, which means the system is not designed for carrying that much. So you're going to have outages as the system basically, you're going to have new circuit breakers are going to have to be put in to handle the extra load. Everything is a total disaster. Last week, the people, this is one of the greatest moments in American history. The money that we're going to make off of the Japanese thing, well, no, it didn't happen that way. Because
what money were they going to make off the Japanese?
They thought, we're going to have to sell them a lot of stuff, and we're going to be doing all this and all that. And then they found out, well, they're going to shut down all our nuclear plants, and we don't have the means, we don't have the money to fix them, we don't have the money for the power grid. We would have green energy if if we didn't, of course it took us 100 years to put the power grid up that we currently have, and it will take at least 40 to 50 to do a new grid.
I mean, part of it is it takes a long time to develop that power grid. Yep. I mean, the best example of this probably is if you look at people's cell phones, right? Because the power grid for mobile phones is what? AT&T developed it.
AT&T developed it. Those towers that you guys see everywhere, those are AT&T towers. Those are not T-Mobile. Those are not Verizon. They are AT&T towers.
Which is why AT&T can brag and say 97% of all cell phone users, or we provide cell phone usage.
Because they do, and it's why Verizon said we provide cell phone usage wider than. But because they're leasing, everybody leases from AT&T, so they all can have the same commercial. But it's just, everything is not built overnight. People forget that it was the turn of the 20th century when Thomas Alva Edison actually wired up his first city. The turn of the 20th century. This is just the turn of the 21st century. Electrical power has not been around in massive amounts for that long. I will tell you, I grew up in Culver City. Mm-hmm. We had outhouses in the 60s, folks.
You did?
And we didn't have power to everything on our property.
Now, the 60s, okay, granted that was still 50 years ago, but it's not like it was like horse and buggy time.
We did have horses. We did have horses.
But the 60s, that's MGM. MGM was big over there, right?
Yeah.
Were they big during the 60s?
They were very big in the 60s. Lots of stuff being done over there. I mean, I
remember the line.
I spent a lot of time. People don't remember. Okay, if you go to the Western Channel, Encore Western Channel, over on on your cable system, and you'll see. You'll see like the Virginian, you'll see Wagon Train, you'll see Maverick. This stuff was all done like over in the heart of Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was in Spartacus. Those hills that they're galloping up around, that's Universal. That's all those houses in the background of Universal Studios. That was where that was shot. This is what we're talking. It was 50 years ago. This place was still not up. We didn't have the freeway system like we do now.
No.
I mean, Sepulveda. I grew up if you know Southern California, Sepulveda was a 2-lane road. For that time. I mean, like last night we were talking about we went to.